our cover story, we continue with our build-up to the much-awaited summit between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping of China. In the last 2 weeks, Gravitas has kept you ahead on all the developments on this front, and soon we'll be taking you to the historic Chinese city of Wuhan, where this meeting will take place. But before that, let's tell you why this is a summit like no other. Because it has been planned differently. The format is unlike any traditional bilateral meeting. Sources have told WION that there won't be any fixed agenda, neither will there be a joint statement at the end of the meeting. That is usually the way such bilateral discussions conclude, but not this one. The aim is to have broad and overarching conversations, to understand and process, not so much to conclude and declare. Sources say that the purpose of this meeting is to become attuned to the domestic issues and foreign policy of both sides, and this, we are told, will dispel misunderstandings. India and China have decided to put Doklam behind them for the Wuhan dialogue. Sources also to tell WION that both sides are keen on communication at a political level and follow a top-down approach. This two-day engagement will give Prime Minister Narendra Modi an opportunity to build a personal rapport with President Xi Jinping, and this comes ahead of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or the SCO summit, which is slated for June. This is in line with the Prime Minister's style of functioning, we are told. Since taking office, Narendra Modi has tried to develop a personal relationship with world leaders. China says that at Wuhan, both leaders will exchange views on overarching and long-term strategic issues. They're also expected to discuss the latest trends around the world that need to be closely followed and debated. Basically, a freewheeling conversation on issues of common interest, which is why this is being called an informal summit. There is no precedent for an informal summit between India and China, which explains the choice of Wuhan. Beijing is official, Wuhan is not. It's a second-tier city and the most populous in China. The Three Gorges Dam is not far away, and the buzz is that Narendra Modi and Xi Jinping will take a tour of this monument to modern Chinese engineering. Wuhan comes with a great slice of history too. It was China's de facto capital in 1938. And China's late great founder, as they call him, Chairman Mao, used to swim in the Yangtze River. Then he would feast on pork and black bean sauce and spicy fish. Maybe Wuhan will honor Prime Minister Narendra Modi with a vegetarian version of this. Wuhan is also rapidly modernizing, we can tell you. The city is crisscrossed by railways, highways and expressways, making it a major transportation hub. And for that reason, it is often described as the Chicago of China. A visit to Wuhan may even give the inventive Narendra Modi ideas to remake Indian cities. Who knows? Varanasi, his constituency, could benefit from the impact of Wuhan. We'll have to wait and see. But coming back to the talking points right now, even though this is unstructured and the agenda has not been defined, we can tell you that the China-US trade war is going to be discussed. President Donald Trump's urgency to reduce the trade deficit with China has sparked tension with that country. Many see India as a potential mediator. New Delhi, remember, has always taken a position against protectionist policies, and Beijing hopes to leverage that. Take a look at our next report.
A summit between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping is a rare event. But during the critical two-day event, both leaders have an opportunity to set the tone for the future of globalization. The meeting comes at a critical time. China and the United States are locked in a trade war with each other. In order to curb the growing trade deficit with China, President Trump slapped tariffs worth billions of dollars on Chinese goods. Beijing retaliated with its own set of tariffs on American goods. The trade war has opened up an opportunity for India to expand its trade relationship with China. Earlier in April, New Delhi offered to export soybean and sugar to China during the India-China Strategic Economic Dialogue. Beijing, too, looks keen to discuss trade ties.
China and India are both countries with ancient civilizations and are important neighboring countries to each other. They are large countries, each with a population of more than 1 billion. Under the current situation, the world is undergoing profound changes with increasing instability and uncertainty. We are two largest developing countries and important emerging markets. We share many common interests and common concerns. As you can see, we have several joint international proposals. We are two staunch forces that promote multipolarization and economic globalization, and we are also important forces to promote peace, stability and development of the region and even the world.
China remains India's largest import partner. Goods valued close to $70 billion were sent from China to India in the last fiscal year. While Beijing is keen on building its reputation in the Indian market, India is keen on boosting its exports to China. The meeting between the two leaders is being closely watched by India's oldest business organization. FICCI President Rashesh Shah called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi to raise the issue of access to Chinese markets with President Xi Jinping. The industry body hopes that both countries can come together to fight the rise of protectionism around the world. India's stance on global trade at the SCO Council of Foreign Ministers should set the tone for the Modi-Xi summit. In her address to the gathering, India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj said that protectionism in all its forms should be rejected. The minister reiterated India's commitment towards a more open and inclusive economic globalization. Bureau Report, WION.
An important factor in this relationship is the Tibetan government in exile headed by the Dalai Lama. Amid reports that the government of India kept China in the loop before cancelling his grand event in Delhi, the Tibetan spiritual leader has spoken about this summit, the upcoming summit. The Dalai Lama has supported the idea. He says that as neighbours, India and China need to talk to each other and that they're too big to go to war. Siddhant Simbal reports.
The man who fled his country rather than live under Chinese rule has endorsed the Modi-Xi Jinping informal summit. The Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader of Tibetans in India, told WION that war never solved anything.
As I mentioned earlier, you see, use force is outdated. Must meet people and talk. And I think, realistically speaking, neither India nor China no ability to destroy others. So you have to live side by side.
The Dalai Lama was at an event in Delhi marking 60 years of his exile in India. He was underscoring the point that India and China are not only two big countries but also neighbours, which means they need to go the extra mile to ensure they remain on good terms.
Ahead of the informal summit between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping, New Delhi tried to assuage Chinese concerns about Dalai Lama. A MEA order had imposed restriction between officials meeting the Dalai Lama, and all the events marking his exile were shifted from New Delhi to Dharamshala. But his presence in India will always be an irritation to the Chinese and also question Chinese control over Tibet.
In fact, the Dalai Lama has said Tibet could remain a part of China if Tibetans were guaranteed autonomy and their cultural and linguistic rights were protected. He said Tibet could benefit from China's economic growth, but Beijing suspects his intentions and believes he is conspiring against China. With Siddhant Simbal in New Delhi, Bureau Report, WION.